And Madam Clerk, when you're ready, we do the roll call.
It's all good. It's all good. It really is. Good morning. Mr. Wembley. Present. Mr. Lewis. Present. Mr. Coleman. Present. Mr. Powell. Present. Mr. Fouché. Ms. Wilhelmy.
Present.
Mr. Bryant.
Present.
Mr. France.
Present.
Mr. Pearson. Ms. Bacchus, I'm sorry, and Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Thank you. It appears, Madam Chair, all are present.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment, if I could, to share my thanks and gratitude for the Carl Vinson Institute for all the help and support you have rendered this body from the beginning, and to perhaps clarify a misunderstanding. Carl Vinson is here to assess what information needs are required to present to our body for information, where to fill in the gaps, to appraise us of what the subtle nuance items are before we make decisions, but they are not here to tell us what to do and in no way are supposed to be influencing the ultimate decisions. And so toward that end, you have met that. And we are very, very grateful for the way you've handled things and continue to handle things. And to the young interns, you're fortunate to be working with this team. So thank you all for your ongoing support, and we're most appreciative of it. All right, on a similar note, I wanted to, before we call Ms. Kesey up, tell you about a public hearing we had Monday evening hosted by, I believe it was jointly sponsored by the League of Women Voters and the Baptist Ministers Association, is that right? Yeah, no, I think it was. In any case, it was a very fruitful meeting. There were 6 of our commissioners present, and the format was a good bit different. Ms. Kesey had gone, or Ms. Kesey and others, I presume, had gone together to pose questions to give people opportunities to think about what other questions they might have in their heads, and our job was to elicit and record what we heard from those folks. And it was great. And I happened to be on the ethics and transparency table with Reverend Booker, and it was a very informative evening. And so I want to thank you guys for all the energy expended and the planning and so forth and so on, because that was a well-done meeting for sure. All right, Ms. Kesey, can I call you to the podium to render comments?
Good morning. My name is Dr. Gayla Kesey, just an FYI. I am co-president of the League of Women Voters of the CSRA. First, I want to raise a concern about the form of government subcommittee, which is now even more dysfunctional with only 4 members now that Sheffy Robinson has resigned. At the September 18 meeting, we saw a 2-2 standoff with no mechanism to break the tie. As a result, the subcommittee passed along motions without recommendation to the full Charter Review Committee, including 3 that Mr. Wimberly himself wanted to withdraw and replace with updated versions. The other 2 members refused to allow that, forcing all 6 motions forward. Several are nearly identical, and yet they now appear on today's CRC agenda. Instead of resolving issues, the subcommittee has created duplication, confusion, and unnecessary work for this larger body. Second, I must address what occurred at that September 18 form of government meeting. I was ordered to leave after Vice Chair Bryant, who was not even a member of the subcommittee and was never recognized by the chair, raised a point of order claiming I was disrupting the meeting. Under Robert's Rules of Order, a point of order cannot be used to remove someone from a meeting, whether disruptive or not. Only the chair has that authority. And Robert's Rules is clear about what is disruptive behavior, what it actually means, preventing the assembly from conducting its business, such as shouting, making personal insults, or physically interfering with the proceedings. My behavior did not meet any of those definitions. This was a misuse of procedure that reduced transparency and undermined accountability. Finally, I do want to thank the members who attended our league's community gathering on September 29th. Over 50 residents participated in small group conversations with Charter Review Committee members. Several clear themes emerged across the tables: checks and balances, concern about concentrating power in any single office, and the importance of defining authority, professionalism and independence, particularly regarding the city manager role, budget oversight, and the need for an independent ethics board, transparency and accountability, how budgets are managed, how decisions are made, and how conflicts of interest are handled, representation and fairness, especially in district and superdistrict structures, with attention to ensuring minority voices are not diluted. I got one step. We compiled these perspectives into a report, which I sent to you today via digitally, and I also have one to give to Ms. Bonner to put into the record. In closing, I encourage this committee to recommit to openness, accountability, and meaningful public participation. That is the only way the charter review process will have legitimacy in the eyes of Augusta residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giese.
Madam Chair, if I may, first of all, for clarification point, I did not ask Ms. Giese to leave the meeting. I asked her to remove herself to the area that was reserved for the public. In the area that she was sitting in was for other committee members, plus to Carl Vinson and any guests that we were having. She was not a member of Carl Vinson, she was not a guest, and she was not a member of this committee. All I asked for her to do was to remove herself to an area that those in the community were sitting. Why I requested that was simply because several times during the discussion, it was evident that Ms. Giese was having comment or something to say about certain things that were going on. I was okay, and I let that go. But when she approached Mrs. Bakos, who is the secretary, and was taking notes in regards to the meeting, I found that to be out of order at that time, that a member of the community could actually come and involve themselves in a committee. Now, if I was wrong, I apologize. But I think as we talk about decorum and all of that, that all of us, the public, members of the committee, visitors, and all have to hold ourselves to a standard of making sure that nothing is misconceived. So with that said, I just wanted to make clarification of that. My next thing is that, again, after hearing the chair talk about Carl Vinson Institute, as vice chair and a member of this committee, all I can say is that the dealings with Carl Vinson Institute have been above reproach. They have been exceptionally exceptionally well doing their job and helping us in a consulting capacity. I think what people sometimes feel is that in a consulting capacity, people are to tell you what to do. No, they are there to help guide you and to give you enough information so that the full body can make decisions. I think where we are today, and based on some of the motions before us today and some other discussions that we have, we are in better position than we ever have been in moving this thing forward as we try to do the business of the city, which is to review the committee, to review the charter of the city. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. At this time, I'd like to call Ms. Angie Cox to the podium. And Angie represents the Augusta Chamber of Commerce and is going to present her vantage point from the organization and how local government structure and services support business and economic growth.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee for the opportunity to be here this morning. On behalf of the Chamber's Board of Directors and members, we appreciate the opportunity to address this body. The Chamber serves as the voice of the business community on matters of federal, state, and local policy, where local policy, by far, generally has the most impact on the growth and success of our local business community, many of which are small businesses and members of the Augusta Metro Chamber of Commerce. So first, let me express my gratitude to each of you for the service and leadership on this committee. It's an enormous responsibility to evaluate the way our local government functions and how the charter plays an important role in the efficiency, accountability, and effectiveness of Augusta-Richmond County, and in the manner in which our government delivers services to the local community. So you all are to be commended for your leadership and your fortitude in finding the right balance of the role of government in our continued economic success. And I hope that in some small measure, the Chamber can aid in your discussions and your deliberations in finding that right balance. It should come as no surprise that the Chamber was a strong supporter last December during the Commission's deliberations regarding moving forward with the Charter Review Committee. And we communicated with them at that time the importance of immediately standing up said committee. The Chamber has long considered the need to evaluate and create a potentially more nimble and responsive local government as a means of leveraging better economic growth. Each department and function of the city government plays an integral role in helping to achieve a community that is moving forward. Local government must be a responsive partner to the local community if we are to see progress. There are numerous examples of how the city's responsibilities to govern and deliver services intersect with ways in which our community prospers. Whether that's a business going through the approval process of planning for an expansion, housing developers working with a host of city departments to find the right balance of housing, or, as we have seen recently in the downtown area, how to support the business community during major road construction. Even the simplest of services, such as applying for a business license, can either impede or empower a small business. We only have to look at the last 2 weekends with the Arts in the Heart Festival and Ironman to know that a well-run city is the hallmark of success these events seek to achieve. The more customer-focused, responsive, and strategic our local government is, the better we all look and meet our mutual goals. That is why, in 2022, the Chamber began focusing on how Augusta could achieve a more streamlined government structure that creates clear lines of responsibility between elected leaders as the governing body and government professionals tasked with delivering city services. A better organizational chart, if you will, that delineates where both macro and micromanagement are expected. as expressed in the letter that I have provided that Ms. Bonner has passed out, which is a copy of the Chamber's letter sent to members of the Commission and the Mayor in January of 2023, we'd hoped to begin this conversation to the Commission, granting more authority to the administrator so that the person in this position could actually carry the full responsibility of city functions. In researching other cities, we found that having a clear chain of command and organizational chart that both customers and government and those who deliver services can clearly understand was paramount to the continued growth of our community. Since that proposed action we asked the Commission for did not occur in 2023, we would ask that this committee view changing to a city manager form of government to achieve the same goal and purpose we advocated to change. For decades, the Augusta Richmond Commission has operated with an organizational structure where the Commission itself, a political body, maintains a high level of direct management and oversight over department directors. This dynamic creates significant difficulty in the management of operations and services, where clear lines of accountability do not exist, and consumes the time of officials who are elected to govern rather than to manage. In short, we support a city manager form of government where an accredited public service career professional manages the operations of the city. City departments can be managed under the watchful eye of an experienced professional skilled in their career to oversee large municipal operations and serve as the gatekeeper to political interference. Similar to other city manager municipalities, accountability and results should rest with one person who is expected to build out departments and teams that deliver consistent and professional results for all citizens. In another matter to share with this committee, it has long been the position of the Chamber to establish a separate division of budgeting/financial reporting and planning to strengthen the budget development process, analysis, and forecasting associated with strong finance departments. This recommendation actually surfaced from a 2014 Vinson study that was performed on the city's finance department. And the Chamber chose to include this recommendation as a cornerstone in our local policy agenda. And I have provided a copy of that one-pager for you as well. The Chamber believes that a sound fiscal strategy relies on personnel and expertise dedicated to analysis, prediction, and tactical recommendations for growth. Whether this is accomplished through the city manager's office or in a more formal distinction within city finance, those who are responsible for accounting functions are not necessarily skilled in budget forecasting. And we don't have to look far to understand that we cannot develop budgets on just a year-to-year basis and expect that to be sustainable for meeting the needs of our citizens. While this might not be a charter change or revision issue, we hope that the committee looks to providing many recommendations, whether through ordinance or organizational structure, that carry the full weight of your analysis and ways to improve our city government. In closing, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to provide comments, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, Ms. Johnson.
Robinson.
Robinson, pardon me. Excuse me.
To be clear, your two suggestions are the city manager with the full scope to be able to manage department heads, and a budget committee that is separate from the actual planning process?
No, in essence, it would be a budget director is what we would be recommending that would fall underneath the finance department. And if that person was to include a CFO, if the city manager had budgeting proficiency, then that would be someone to focus on budgeting that is outside of the everyday finance operations.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Bakos?
Good morning. Thank you for that. I actually had a question for Carl Vinson Institute in following up on this, the financial questions. So would that be a charter issue with the budgeting. You said not department, but it would fall, yeah. Would that be a charter issue or would that be ordinance? And in other cities equivalent to Augusta, Richmond County, do they have a CFO? And the CFO, what all falls underneath that umbrella? Would finance fall under that? And would they be in charge of budgeting? I have a lot of questions, sorry. Because one of the things that's really been brought up a lot too, even at the roundtable discussion on Monday with citizens, was who would be responsible for creating the budget and how can we keep politics and budget separate? And I just wanted some feedback on that since she brought it up, it wasn't me.
If I may, Madam Chair. Well, there were a whole slew of questions in there, so hopefully I will catch all of them. First, on the issue of budget development, it is quite common in charters for that responsibility to first and foremost be under, in a manager form, to be the responsibility of the manager. It is also not uncommon for there to be, it is less common for it to be delineated in the charter, but for there to be a chief budget officer in a jurisdiction. And that depending on the structure, that often falls underneath a chief financial officer. But there is usually there is usually a delineation between finance being the accounting operations and the budget operations. That is a very common, especially in large, sophisticated governments, for that to be two separate functions. Because the accounting tends to be what has happened, where the budgeting is what are we planning on doing component. And those often require different skill sets to be managing those processes and outcomes carefully.
And the internal audit department that's proposed, that would be separate from that?
That would also be separate from that, yes.
Okay, so considering what we currently have, what would we now need in order to meet this recommended standard that y'all had from 11 years ago?
So fundamentally, if as you have motions on the floor to move to a manager form, having that manager endowed with budgetary responsibility, that budget would then be presented to the commission for adoption. And it could be a recommendation of the committee, whether you had it in the charter or that you recommended it for ordinance, to create a budget officer separate from the finance role. That could be a recommendation for this committee as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Robinson?
One last question. I'm sorry you sat down, Rex, because you have to stand up again. So I know we hadn't necessarily gotten to the finance pieces of the charter, and I appreciate you, Ms. Cox, for bringing that to our attention, because I think it's something we need to heavily consider. In the process of, say, a city manager role, and there are many governments where they do have a CEO and a CFO, for the state of Georgia, how common or uncommon is that, and what is the typical size of those governments?
That is an answer that I do not know off the top of my head.
Sure, I'm sorry.
I do know it is quite common in the larger governments for there to be a CFO in addition to the manager position. Okay.
And one more question. Since the city manager is essentially functioning as the, when you look at a traditional corporation, of course, you have your CEO, CFO, CMO, and the range of C-suite. In your best recommendation for a government of our current size that seeks for the constituent size to grow, what would be your recommendation as far as that, a CFO versus a budget manager? And feel free to give full opinion. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Sure. I think from my perspective, the key issue is that you want somebody that is thinking about the budget all year long. And whether that you have that be a responsibility of the CFO or a budget officer, I think it could happen either way. But I do think generally the CFO tends to be thinking about both the accounting and the budget side. And so having a separate delineated budget officer, I think in a community like Augusta, would be more in line with current best practices that we see not only in Georgia, but across the country.
Now, that's because we're talking in two different things here because we currently don't have a CFO.
That is correct.
A lot of that is delivered to the city administrator currently. So are you meaning a city manager, CFO, then budget manager, or city manager, budget manager?
I would say at a minimum, a city manager and budget manager. Now, the structure could also have a CFO, but I think it would be more, if we're looking at resources and timeliness, I think a budget manager is the more critical position than the CFO, because you have a finance director that can somewhat play that role. But a manager and a budget officer, I think, would be more common best practices.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Bakers?
Just one more follow-up question. You don't even have to get up. It's okay. Mr. Plunkett, I seem to recall being in a meeting months ago where Ms. Allen was talking about, I believe it was Ms. Allen, because our finance director was terminated, and so that position needed to be filled, but HR didn't have a job description for that because that person had been in that position for so long, and she did bring up a CFO. Do you recall what the commission decided to do moving forward with that? Was it going to be termed still a finance director or a CFO? And again, not asking for an answer right now, but I would just request an answer to that moving forward. And then if Carl Vincent could bring us some information regarding especially the recommendation that was made in 2014, so that maybe we can address that more in depth in the finance subcommittee.
If I just make sure what you're asking is that the open position today, is it being advertised as a CFO position or a finance director? Is that fundamentally?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know exactly I know it's being advertised currently, but I will get that information and I can email how that does. I think basically today that the budget and the other finance issues, auditing and accounting is all under the same department, but they provide the budget to the administrator who presents that. So I think, I think your question is helpful or I think providing you the information as to what is being advertised and the job function may or may not be consistent with what this body is going to recommend post-charter review. So I would think currently the CFO would be also in charge of part of the budgeting process or supporting the administrator. But if you're thinking a budget officer, you're kind of redefining the role.
Yeah.
So I can provide you with the CFO or finance director job description is what's being advertised and which one they're doing that is. But keep in mind, it may be a slightly different job description that you are suggesting at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But I'll get
Thank
that to you, okay?
Thank you, Mr. France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good presentation, ma'am. I have just a couple of questions. When you talk about in the vein of a city manager and a budget officer, okay, so we already have a finance department. So who would that budget officer, if created, who would that officer report to?
I think it totally depends on what you're discussing, whether that is ultimately a CFO or whether the city manager acts as the CFO and/or budgeting director. I just think having someone specifically tasked with long-term and strategic visioning versus reactive planning is needed to separate the two in the finance department.
Well, the reason I ask that is normally in typical structures, when you have a finance department, the budget officer normally falls under that individual. But if we're going to separate delineation between duties, may have to really think about that, a reporting process and who they would be responsible to report to based on their roles and responsibilities.
Absolutely, and that will be dependent upon kind of the org chart, if you will, of how the government is laid out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set, sister. I appreciate you
Appreciate
bringing
it.
this to us very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate you coming down. Valuable information, for sure. Okay, I believe Ms. Rookard, there she is. All righty. Welcome, and thank you for coming. And maybe you can possibly shed some light on a couple of those questions, but thank you for joining us today, hon.
Good morning, Miss. I do have handouts, Miss Bonner. Miss Bonner knows, yes, I do have handouts. And, yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. France, for inviting me. And thank you to the board for agreeing to have me come and join you. I do have I'm gonna make it brief. I'm gonna talk about what we do, and I'll talk about the need for the role in local government, and then I will answer any questions that you all have for me. As the HR director for Augusta, Georgia, I specifically have been here 5 years. I joined the team in the midst of the COVID disaster. And I call it a disaster because it affected all of us. That affected everyone. So 2 years of my career here in Augusta was under the umbrella of COVID. And so once we got through COVID, then I can kind of breathe and decide how we move. One of the things that I did is to create this strategic plan, which is being handed out to you now. As the HR director, I need a roadmap versus just pulling it out of the sky to function. I needed a roadmap. And so I used that strategic plan to bring focus to my department and to bring focus to what exactly we needed to do for Augusta. And so as an HR director, we have to be strategic planners, so strategic supporters of the organization. We also have to be officers of the law. And so in all of that, we are a 360 department. From start to finish, from your hiring, we work with the hiring managers and the directors to bring support to their departments. That's the first thing. We also are responsible for the benefits management, where we manage our benefits plan that we utilize for our employees. We also have a compensation team. The compensation team helps me make sure we maintain competitive edge in the marketplace. So we are constantly looking at positions and departments to make sure that what we are offering, number one, is a competitive salary, to make sure that the job itself is being progressive. And that's what our compensation department does. The other thing is learning and development. Learning and development is new to the department, new to Augusta. But one of the things that I asked for year 3 is that I could hire a training manager, because training is also a hiring tool for Augusta. We have to be able to hire talent and provide them with the necessary training to allow them to advance. And so that we have training and development. And finally, I have employee engagement, employee relations. Employee engagement is under the umbrella where you would look for performance. We handle performance. We also are responsible for employee engagement. So events, programs to keep employees engaged with the city, to keep employees engaged with learning. Those are all 5 of the departments that divisions that I am responsible for under the umbrella of human resources. I'm sorry. Yes. What is it in talent management? Well, earlier I said to you, we work closely with supporting the department heads and hiring managers with bringing in the talent. That is application process, interview process. My office supports all of the departments with those areas to make sure that they're bringing in talent, they get them hired, and then they matriculate into their departments. I talked to you about benefits management, where we manage our benefits package regarding hiring. So we make sure that we are providing them with what I would call is a total reward. So we manage the benefits of Augusta to make sure that they're competitive, to make sure that they're reasonable, and to make sure that employees know what they have access to. So that's what the benefits division does for us. I've mentioned compensation. Compensation is key because with the market changing constantly, we always have to have our hand and ear to the ground to see what's changed in a job, how the job has changed, how does it benefit or not benefit? Do we need to change the job description? And where does the salary fall in those areas? And that's something that we do constantly. It's not something that's done every 6 months. It's a constant. Employee engagement, employee relations. One of the things that I did when I arrived was to bring back employee appreciation. Employee appreciation is very important everywhere. They want to know that regardless to what we do for you, you appreciate me. And so that is one of the things my department has done. Every year we get creative in how we show employee appreciation, but we make sure that the employees get recognized. Every month we have our years of service recognition. We have Employee of the Month, and then during the month of March, we have an employee appreciation event. And we go to every single department and make sure we do something with them. I've done lunch, I've done chair massages, I've done all kinds of things to make sure that the employees can have that little 15 minutes, an hour time to just breathe, and we say thank you. The other thing with employee relations is we're responsible for performance management. We do have performance management in place now. It is a paper instrument. In '26, I am moving to technology. I am moving to a living, breathing document that an employee can actually see and have, and I don't have to wait for it to get to me. and then we have to house the paper. So in 26, and I will talk about that shortly, a little more. But in 26, we're moving away from paper performance measures, and it'll be electronic. And finally, the learning system. As I told you earlier, when I arrived, we didn't have a training manager. So one of the things I requested in my budget at the time is to get a training manager, because training is such a valued tool that sometimes just goes overlooked. And so now in 26, I'm also going to be implementing electronic training. So we will have online training to all of employees, available to employees in real time. I've been given permission through the commission to add mandatory trainings. So we will have 6 mandatory trainings that every employee has to take, and then we'll have a library. Right now I have, I'd say, at least 60 different trainings that are on PowerPoints. Currently we offer in-person trainings to our employees, everything from customer service excellence to communication. So we are offering in-person trainings. Now, some people can't always be available for in-person trainings. And also, we need to be able to use these same tools to help people in their areas of discipline. So let's say we have an issue with someone being disciplined regarding communication. One of the things you can do with training is use it as a tool to make sure, yes, we had a conversation, and yes, we're requiring them to take this class. So that's the good thing about having the online learning and development, is we can have this resource to employees in real time to support their growth within Augusta. Now, let me go back to performance. Performance management is a conversation that I had with Mr. France, and he wanted to know, do we have training? Do we offer performance management here? And we do. It was just on paper. And what does that mean? That really means that sometimes you get it and sometimes you didn't. Well, I want to move away from paper. And I now have a HRIS, a Human Resources Information System. And part of that is a place for performance management. An employee would be able to participate in their own growth by participating in the performance. The manager would be able to participate in their performance, and the director. So all 3 will be able to see it, view it, work from it, use it as a tool to help that employee grow, to help that employee mature in our government. And they'll be able to see it and follow their own growth, because those things matter. It's not enough that you tell me I need to work more in areas of communication. It's another when I'm able to see it and have real tools available to me to help me get better. And so that's why the performance is important and the learning system is important. We want to be able to help you matriculate through Augusta and mature in your profession, but we also want to be able to provide you with adequate materials to help you grow as you matriculate through Augusta. And I'm done.
I personally am very happy that Vice Chairman Bryant recommended we pull all this together and that Mr. France was able to visit with you. Can I ask a question before we go to the others? Because I know I'm very big on this. I'm trying to understand. We have heard from people, from other employees that have said they've not had evaluations in 8.5 and 9 years. That would be the first question I would like to hear your responses to. But if I can piggyback on this HRIS just for a moment. On the new system, is the employee allowed to evaluate themselves prior to an evaluation? Excellent. How about when an employee visualizes, takes the time to go through one of those modules, does it catalog it on their file? Good. Excellent. Very happy to hear that. All right, I think I'm going to sign off and call upon Mr. Pearson first.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to us what checking the box is as it relates to felons?
I'm sorry?
Checking the box. What does checking the box mean as it relates to felons?
I don't know. I don't understand your
Okay.
question.
It is my understanding that there was some concern that if you are a felon, F-E-L-O-N, you are to check the box in terms on your application. I'm trying to get an understanding because someone came to us before, and I'm just trying to get an understanding as to what checking the box. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with it, that's fine.
I am not familiar
Okay.
with what you're asking.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair.
Ban the box.
Pardon me?
It's called ban the box.
Ban the box.
Oh, you mean ban the box?
Oh,
Okay.
ban the box. Okay, thank you very much, Ms.
Ban the
Backhouse.
box is a policy that the state has that what it does is allows people who have things on their record to still be able to apply for a job. That's what that is. It just allows the person who has a background, a criminal background, to be able to apply for a job. So that's what ban the box is.
Should we ban the box?
No, we should not ban the box.
Why not?
Ban the box is a tool for, well, first of all, it's a state policy. Number two, it's a tool that allows everybody to be able to have the opportunity to apply for a job. And so you don't want barriers up to stop them from applying for a job. We all can have things happen to us in our background that takes us away from being able to get a job. And so what ban the box does is it at least gets them in the room to interview. That's what ban the box does. And personally, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. Another question. Is there a contingency plan or in place, say, or continuity plan in case of a director's death? Is there training going on in each department to ensure that there's someone else that could step into the position?
And what you're asking about is called a succession plan.
Succession plan. Good.
Succession planning. And succession planning hasn't always been at the forefront for Augusta. Currently, it is. Working with the new administrator and my office, we have plans to make sure that department heads understand succession planning and understand how to use succession planning in their departments.
Okay. Who ensures that the training is taking place to make sure in case someone passes or becomes?
In this case, it's going to be the administrator and myself. Because we're working together, it would be the administrator. These are department heads who answer to the administrator. So it would be the administrator's responsibility to make sure that succession planning is the undergird of what we do as directors to make sure that, yes, when things come up, that there is someone available that can step in.
Okay. As it relates to the administrator or the manager, whichever direction we go in, should there be a semi or annual evaluation?
When you talk about evaluating directors, are you talking about evaluating teams?
The manager. Should the
I believe-
manager be evaluated once a year, or should the manager be evaluated twice a year?
I believe that we should be evaluated every quarter.
That's right.
So I think that there should be evaluations going on every 3 months for all of us, so that when your yearly comes up, you're not surprised. You don't wait till your year-end evaluation to evaluate me. You should be evaluating me every 3 months. so that I can have that same time to improve as I move through. So evaluations should not be done once a year. They should be done every 3 months. We should have a conversation about my performance so that when 6 months comes, there's no surprise. When
That's right.
9 months come, there's no surprise. And at the end of the year, I already know what you're going to say about me because I've seen it, we've discussed it. Does that help?
No, that's state government that's
Okay.
my experience.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Ms. Backus?
Good morning.
Morning.
Just to follow up on his ban the box question. Ban the box, it used to be on the application where you had to state that you had a criminal history. So what you're saying is ban the box, taking that off of there does not keep them from somebody who's justice impacted. It does not prevent them from getting an interview, but it still could probably prevent them from getting employed.
It could, depending on the role, because it may be safety sensitive. Every employee is different. So you have to look at these things individual basis.
And so you do employ people that are justice impacted depending upon the role.
We do employ justice impacted people, yes, depending on the role.
Okay. And then one concern that's been brought up quite a bit, both in the community and I believe even amongst our committee members, is the hiring of family and friends. And so I'm not certain, is the hiring decision made by you? Is it made by the department heads? Is it made together? And how can we avoid favoritism to family and friends moving forward?
That was a loaded question. So, just so you know, I'm going to go back to something that
Sorry.
you all have already heard. My department is a consultant. We are your partner. We are your advisor. So the hiring decisions are made at the department director's head, at the department director level, not the HR department. We are there as gatekeepers of paperwork and the laws. Who gets hired, that decision is at the department, and that's up to the department director. Now, can I control? No, I cannot. We do have a policy in place that states that if a family member is hired, that they cannot be in the hiring or in the hierarchy of the relative, and we also state that husband and wives can't work in the same department, and so we have that in place. But to say whose cousin is cousin, we can't.
Okay. And then for the department heads, another concern that's been brought up is putting the responsibility onto a city manager for hiring and firing. If I'm assuming correctly, HR standards would still come into play for hiring and firing department heads. It's not just I don't like you today, so be gone.
You would still have to follow the law, the state law and the federal law. You would still have to have those things in place. And regardless to who's going to be responsible for it, there are still laws in place that would require us to make sure that it's carried out properly.
Okay, one more question, that's it, I promise. How is a city manager position, or city administrator, because we don't have a city manager at this point, how is that position advertised? Is that through a talent management company that's separate? Because then you would be kind of hiring your own boss, and that would be weird.
Well, first of all, I don't hire the city manager or the
you know what I mean.
administrator. That's through the commission.
Yeah.
And the commission tells me how they want to advertise for those roles. And so, yes, during my time here, when it came to the city administrator role, I have hired a recruitment firm to work with me in pulling the talent together and presenting it to the commission.
And the current process is the talent company would then come up with their top 3 candidates, and then the mayor chooses one. Can you explain to us how that works? Because a lot of questions about that from our community, and I think that's something that we need to discuss maybe moving forward, like how that works or should be working to ensure it's being fair.
It really depends on how many candidates in the pool you get. So we've had 20 candidates in a pool, and the commission has said, we want to see the top 7, or they want to see the top 10. And what the recruiter has done is they send us the list of the entire pool, and then the commission selects their top, whether it just depends on the candidate pool. They may pick the top 10 that they want to interview. They may pick the top 7 that they want to interview. And then the recruiter and myself just schedule those interviews for the commission. Then from there, the commission decides if they move forward with that 7, or if they want to narrow it down to another subset, and then they decide what that subset is, and then they would give all of that to the mayor, and the mayor pulls top 3, top 4, whatever that number is that they've decided on. He would pull from that group and then present them to, all of them, to the commission.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Backus. Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here, Ms. Rucker. I'm a former employee of the Augusta, Richmond County. I served 35 years on the fire department. I retired in 2019. And I'm going to be honest
I
with
got here.
right before you got here, and I'm going to be honest with you, your department is not popular with the employees.
Of course.
Most of them feel like that it's a hostile environment when they go up there, and mainly when they're trying to process out on their pensions. And you were talking about educating the employees of the City of Augusta. I'm asking you, what is the turnover rate in your department on benefits managers? Because it seems like I have a lot of knowledge on the GMES 1 plan, and I have helped a numerous employees' retirement because they wouldn't get any correct information from your department. And it kind of disturbed me that in the PPPM, I figured HR would know that book better than a retired fire captain. And I have had to help several of my friends find information to take back to you, to your department, to get things straightened out. And I've known plenty of people that have retired that I figured that they were cheated out of some of their time. For one example is your unused sick time. According to the PPPM, you could cash in up to 6 months, not to exceed 6 months for longevity at the end of your process. They didn't know how to determine between an 8 to 5 employee and a suppression employee. They would only let them cash in 900-something hours, which they cheated them out of almost 2 months because they didn't know the difference. And a suppression employee works 24 hours, and they max out at 1,518 hours of unused sick time, which behooves the government and the taxpayers for people not to use their sick time prior to retirement and to get an additional half a year of longevity on their pension. And I would like to see the benefits managers that actually do the processing be educated on the employee handbooks and know how to process people out correctly, and where their last check comes from, what they're due, their unused vacation time, their unused pension time. So I'm asking you to please look into having more stable management in processing employees out and educate those individuals first.
Absolutely. First of all, let me say, I'm sorry I didn't get the chance to work with you. However, yes, there has been some change in the benefits department, specifically for the things that you're bringing to me. I agree. We should be able to sit down with an employee and go through their retirement with a fine-tooth comb so that they understand it. Part of it is we are not the only administrators of our retirement plan. We also have to work with GMEBs, and sometimes there's going to be a delay because my number doesn't always jive with their number. And so, yes, I do ask them to prove I need more information because what I can calculate and what you calculate are different. So sometimes we do have those. But I can assure you, we would want to make sure that our employees can use every extent of their retirement. So we do make sure that we take our time with them to make sure that they get everything that's due to them. That's part of the education. Not only is it important that I know what I'm doing, but I want you to know as an employee all the benefits that you have access to and available to you. And so we do things like road shows. We go to departments so we can discuss your benefits. Because if you remember earlier, I said a lot of our employees don't even utilize their benefits to the fullest capacity as they should. And so you are absolutely correct. Yes, I was made aware and I have done everything and continue to do to evolve in those areas to make sure that when people come to our office and it's time to retire, that they get our undivided attention. When people come to our office and there's been a death in their family, we are going to give them the same respect and the same level of attention. And that is something that they weren't used to. Why? Because I am an outwardly focused director. I'm not an inwardly focused, and I don't hide behind policy. I believe in talking to people. And so, yes, I make sure that my leadership take your time and you talk to people and you help them navigate, because depending on the emergency, I may miss something. And so you have to take your time and go through what we're doing.
And one of the biggest complaints I've had so far, Ms. Rucker, here lately, is the intermittent FMLA time. I just talked to a gentleman the other day that said he actually did the paperwork and requested that intermittent family medical leave almost 9 months ago and still hadn't gotten an answer.
I would like to know who that is, because I've got a team I've got several people working with benefits, so I can help him if you give me his number or have him call me directly. I'll be happy to help.
Mr. Coleman, can you reach out to Ms. Ruckert?
Yes.
After the meeting?
Yes.
All right. Is that your last question?
That was basically it. And that you said you had a firm that you hired to.
That we hire, and I hired it. Just what I do is I work through procurement every year so that I have a pool of different recruiters to use in case we need them, and I put them on standby. And so I wait for approval from the commission. I take their lead in letting me know what they want to do, and then I pull from my list of recruiters to move forward with a recruitment.
My question on that is there any kind of guidelines when you hire an outside firm for those type of things that we make sure there's no ex-city department head in that firm or owns that firm? Because I think that would be a conflict of interest.
You're right, that would be a conflict of interest, and if I haven't had that case, but if that case would come up, I wouldn't use that firm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you again, Ms. Rucker, for agreeing to join us this morning. Your presentation has definitely been enlightening, more so than thank your team as well for agreeing to meet with me on a previous occasion. I have just a couple of questions. I know you've been standing there for a long time, so I'm going to try to be very brief. I applaud you and your department for your forward thinking on trying to move the city forward, especially in the automation department and getting away from paper, because I think it's going to hold people more accountable, and that aspect of having the employee being able to participate in their performance review should should give them more motivation to be more accountable to their employer and also to themselves to make sure they move things forward. My question to you is, we talked about the employee and that performance. My question is, what, if anything, are we going to put in place for the elected official as far as being accountable to the government?
Well, the elected official, the power is in the vote. That's how you determine an elected official is doing well or not, is the voting ballot. It's not us.
Okay. But I guess the follow-up question to that would be, so they wouldn't fall in under any kind of training requirement as far as HR is concerned, as far as training?
Now, we do train leadership as they come in on different things. Ms. Bonner has been very good at helping make sure that when new elected officials come in and there are issues with and they need to matriculate into the system regarding benefits, we make sure that they have that information. We also make sure you got a copy of my employee handbook, they get a copy of that. Outside of that, we have our training department, and I do recommend to elected officials, and a lot of our court system utilizes our training a lot. We do training for all departments. We just did one for the probate courts yesterday. So we do utilize the resources that we have, and we share that with all elected officials. Any of them that ask for specific trainings, we provide them for the whole department.
Okay, good. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate it again, and thank you for your service. All right.
Thank you, Mr. France. Ms. Robinson?
Yes, good morning, and thank you for the information. Two things I have. Number one, you talked about, excuse me, compensation, and that you're regularly checking that. How often are we doing a full compensation study?
Well, we are currently in a compensation study.
Okay.
We are actually finishing it up. I'm hoping to have it completed by the end of October, 1st of November, to present it to the commission. This particular one that we did was a 2-year process. Why? Because Augusta hadn't had one done since, I guess, 19, I want to say. And with COVID interfering and all the other things happening, the market changed a lot, quite a bit. And so we were able to start working on salaries for Augusta, and we're coming to a good place to where we can present that information to Augusta. Augusta has policies in place that allows us to review, HR, to review compensation and make recommendations every 2 years. But because of all the things that has happened in the market and Augusta not really having an HR department until, I got here 5 years ago, a lot of things had gone to the wayside. And so being able to, now that we are putting ourselves on a stable footing, HR will be able to present to commission every 2 years recommendations in areas that need to be reviewed.
Follow-up question to that. In that compensation study, is the compensation for elected officials included?
Some elected officials wanted to participate and some didn't.
Okay. And my final question, so as you were talking, I was curious to what the charter actually had with regard to personnel, because a lot of things you talked about I know are handled in ordinance. And for anybody who doesn't know, page 151, the very last page of the charter, is the personnel page, and there is little of worth on it. If we are to navigate the next phase of what Augusta Richmond County looks like for the people, I think we need to spend a bit more time on what should be included in the charter for personnel. Because if everything is handled via ordinance, that means that could be a lot of fluctuation.
Yes, ma'am.
Like the pension fund, it just says reserved. There's no information here. So but on that, and if you can't answer this question, it's fine, because I know I may be putting you on the spot. What do you think for your department would be beneficial to have in the charter to help human resources manage personnel activities better?
Honestly, I'd just like to manage personnel matters. I'd like to be able to make recommendations to the commission in real time to make sure that we stay ahead and moving forward and advancing. As I said to you earlier, HR is a pivotal strategic planning partner for any organization. And so wherever there's people You need HR in the room. Not always HR is there for the negative things because I don't fire anybody. I don't hire people. But to make sure that we're following the laws and to make sure that we are progressing, HR needs to be a part of the conversation. They need to be in the room. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson and Ms. Rooker. Okay, Mr. Coleman's got one more. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Rucker, you're talking about compensation. I just want to bring to make you aware of the fire department and the structure. Several years ago, whenever the fire chief, Chief James, required people to become EMTs, there was an EMT stipend put on paychecks. It is not a part of their hourly salaries. Augusta-Richmond County has been sued twice, and Augusta-Richmond County has paid settlements twice, and they still haven't fixed that. But the thing that I want to address on that is if you're a basic EMT, you get an additional $1,200 divided by 26 on your check, and then an intermediate gets $2,600, an advanced, I think, gets $35, and a paramedic gets $5,200. Now, the problem that a lot of people have is if you're answering those fire calls, you deserve that siphon. If you're answering those EMS calls on a fire truck, aerial truck, or whatever apparatus you're in. But we have a lot of people that work 8 to 5 in admin that are enjoying those benefits up to $5,200 that do not respond to none of the public. And is it fair for those individuals to continue getting that stipend and they do not use their EMT skills to serve the public? And if we're going to continue to do that, it opens up a Pandora's box, because every marshal, every Richmond County deputy that's an EMT or paramedic ought to get the same stipend. I just want you to look into that and think about that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't expect to come and have all kinds of notes you had to take.
Oh, absolutely I did. That's why I brought my journal.
That's great. Well, we're very grateful for you making time out of your schedule to be with us, and you certainly have answered a lot of questions and brought us up to speed on a number of issues. So we have to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Very good. All right. We'll move on to old business. Ms. Bonner has passed along the minutes from the meeting of September 18th. You just take a moment, and then we'll entertain a motion to accept if there are no comments. Ms. Robinson.
On number 7 and number 8, it says motion carried 11-0, but it also says Pearson on it, which would be incorrect if the motion carried versus number 6, where it says motion carried 10-1.
Madam Chair, can
Yes,
I?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Robinson, that has been corrected. I noticed that this morning.
Okay.
And I did do it. Apparently, you may not have gotten the set that was corrected, and you're absolutely right.
Okay.
And you didn't, but you're right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion to approve with those changes? Mr.
Second.
Powell?
Second.
Clint
Who
Bryant?
was that, Mr.?
Mr. Powell and Mr. Bryant?
Okay.
All in favor? Go ahead and cast your votes.
To Ms. Wilhelmy
Aye. Aye.
and Mr. Pearson. Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, as we're moving into new business, may I call upon Attorney Plunkett to give the parliamentary explanation for what we're about to do?
Madam Chair, what you have before you is 7 motions that came from the former government subcommittee. The first 4, they're referred to as original motions 1 through 4, were made and seconded. They were postponed. I think the language was used, table to a date certain, but what really is postponing to a date certain. At the time of that meeting, which was at the last subcommittee meeting, there was a motion to withdraw. That motion it was seconded, which is required. It failed. I believe the vote was 2-2, which meant that those motions then had to be voted on. Each of the motions has what the vote was, either no recommendation, meaning it did not pass, or it was that. So each of those needs to be dealt with today as being a motion or an item. I think it's easier to say an item. Each item must have a motion, each item must have a second, and then it would be discussed. So if items 1 through 4 are not moved or not seconded, they die. Alternatively, Mr. Wimberly had asked them to be withdrawn. He can make a motion if he's so inclined. Someone could second, and then you would vote to withdraw items 1 through 4. However you deal with that, all 4 need to be dealt with in that order. Then there are 3 additional motions called current motions 1, 2, and 3. Those also would be taken up in that order, and again would require a motion and a second. And if there's any discussion, that would be the case. This is basically like any other motion you all have done before. There's a motion second. Occasionally there's a substitute motion. The voting of that obviously is substitute motions, if they're made and seconded and discussed, are handled in that order. So I think I sent y'all an email not several weeks ago. Basically, this is the same thing, but this is a little bit more unique in that the maker wanted to rescind the motion, but because it was owned by the body, it has to be disposed of.
Mr. Wimberly.
Madam Chair, on motion number 1, I object to the consideration of this motion.
So that's a motion to deny?
That is.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Mr. Powell, Mr. Wimberly made the motion, Mr. Powell. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
there's no room for discussion.
Okay, no problem. All in favor, cast your votes.
What, Mr. Wimberly's motion? Delete?
Yeah.
To delete, that's what, yeah, okay.
We're ready to cast votes.
Yeah, they're casting, they're voting. Mhm. Ms. Wilhelmie?
Vote yes.
Mr. France, we're waiting for you to vote. And Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly?
Madam Chair, on motion number 2, I object to consideration of this motion.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, motion made by Mr. Wimberly, second by Mr. Powell. Okay, we'll go ahead and cast votes.
Ms. Wilhelmie?
Aye.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Wimberly?
Madam Chair, on motion 3, I object to consideration of this motion.
All right, is there a second? Second. Okay, Mr. Wimberly and Mr. Powell. Go ahead and cast votes. Oh, wait, no.
Powell. Mr. Powell? Ms. Wilhelmie?
Yes, ma'am. Aye.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly?
Madam Chair, on motion number 4, I object to consideration of this motion.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
So it was Angela first? Oh, Ms. Robinson seconded.
Madam Chair, we at number 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Original motion number 4.
okay. And I just discussed, I'll let the attorney.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I don't think we need to revote, and it obviously appears on the agenda, but just for the record, would you allow the opportunity for the clerk to read the motions in, and then she can publish again the vote for each one of those, so there's no, for those who don't have the benefit of the written document, it might watch online, they'll know what was voted on.
Very good.
Original motion number 1, no recommendation, excuse me. Transition to county manager structure, that the Augusta Richmond County Charter be amended to transition from a county administrative model to a county manager governance structure. This change shall include all corresponding updates to titles, roles, and intergovernmental relationships to reflect a streamlined, modernized executive framework that improves responsiveness and operational oversight. Approve 11-0. It was unanimous.
That was to delete.
To delete. Yes.
We don't need to vote. This is just perfecting the record that what Ms. Bonner did is she announced the vote to delete original motion number 1. So she read into the record and announced that it was deleted on a vote to 11-1. So if y'all indulge this table just a couple more minutes while she reads original motions 2, 3, and 4 and publish that each one of those was deleted at a vote to 11-0, please.
Original motion number 2, motion to delete. Mayoral authority to appoint and remove manager and attorney, be it further moved, Section 1-51 of the Augusta Richmond County Charter be amended to authorize the mayor to appoint and remove the county manager and county attorney. These actions shall be subject to the advice and consent of the majority of the Board of Commissioners, ensuring balanced governance through collaborative oversight. It was approved unanimously. Original motion number 3, to approve managerial authority over department heads, be it further moved, the county manager shall report directly to the mayor and be granted the authority to appoint and remove department heads subject to the advice and the consent of a majority of the Board of Commissioners. All appointments and removals must comply with established human resource policies, performance standards, and any procedural frameworks adopted by ordinance or resolution. It was approved unanimously. Original motion number 4 for deletion, power and duties. The mayor shall have the power and duties to be the official spokesperson for the consolidated government of its chief advocate of policy and see that the ordinances, resolutions, and regulation of the council and laws of this state, subject to enforcement by the mayor or by officers subject to the mayor's direction and supervision, are faithfully executed and enforced.
Madam Chair, just as a point of clarity, sometimes my older ears don't hear entirely well. I just want to make sure that it was understood that, for instance, in motion number 3 that was read as approved and the vote was 11-0, the vote was 11-0 to delete the item. And so 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the original motions were all removed with consent. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Well, we'll read number 4 now. But 1, 2, and 3 were removed with consent of 11.
Madam Chair, we did not act on number 4, so we need to do that now.
So I read it for the record, so we need to.
Mr. Wimberly needs to put that in motion. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and cast the votes on that one.
Okay,
Okay.
I did. Well, you need a motion. I need who, if they're,
Okay, so Mr. Wimberly moved.
Madam Chair, I'll repeat the motion. The motion is I object to the consideration of this motion.
Okay, and then who
That's
seconded?
the old one.
Sheffy seconded.
Number 4.
Ms. Robinson.
so is, other words, deleting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Robinson seconded.
Okay, that's Mr. Wimberly and Ms. Robinson.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Wilhelmie?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Wimberly, I'm going to call upon you again for,
Madam Chair, may I request that the clerk read the motions?
certainly.
Okay. The next item, current motion number 1, motion to approve transition to a county manager structure, be it moved section 1-50 of the Augusta Richmond County Charter be amended to transition from a county administrative model to a county manager governance structure. This change shall include all corresponding updates to titles, roles, intergovernmental relationships to reflect a streamlined, modernized executive framework that improves responsiveness and operational oversight.
So that is the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Wimberly moved and Mr. Powell seconded.
Substitute motion.
Mr. Lewis?
Madam Chair, I have a substitute motion to that motion, please. Transition to commission management form of government. She's going to put it on the screen.
Excellent. So that's the way it'll read
Yes.
new.
So the substitute motion number 1, transition to commissioner form, is that Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a second for that? Second. Ms. Robinson seconding?
And I'll read Mr. Lewis. And Ms. Robinson, substitute motion. Transition to commissioner manager form of government, be it moved section 150 of the Augusta Richmond County Charter be amended to transition to a commission manager form of government. This change shall include all corresponding updates to titles, roles, and intergovernmental relationships to reflect the streamlined, modernized executive framework that improves responsiveness and operational oversight.
Let us go ahead and cast votes if there are no comments.
Voting on the substitute motion first.
Yes.
Ms. Wilhelmie
Yes.
and Mr. Pearson? Yes. Okay. It's unanimous.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, motion number 2, if you can read that Mr. Wimberly, we're going to ask the clerk to read that into the record.
Madam Chairman, please allow the clerk to read into the record motion number 2.
Okay.
Current motion number 2 is to approve managerial authority over department heads. Be it further moved, the county manager shall report directly to the commission and be granted authority to appoint and remove department heads, subject to the advice and consent of a majority of the Board of Commissioners. All appointments and removals must comply with established human resource policies, performance standards, and any procedural frameworks adopted by ordinance or resolution.
Okay, that is the motion as it stands. And we need a second to put it into place. So Ms. Robinson has seconded that motion.
Okay. Who made the motion? I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Call your substitute.
Mr. Wimberly.
Mr. Wimberly.
And Ms. Robinson.
And Ms. Robinson.
Mr. Lewis?
Madam Chair, I have a substitute motion for the second.
All right. Sorry, Natasha.
Substitute motion. Mr. Lewis and Ms. Robinson, managerial authority over department heads. Be it further moved, the county manager shall report directly to the commission, which includes the mayor, and be granted the authority to appoint and remove department heads. All appointments and removals must comply with established human resource policies, performance standards, and any procedural frameworks adopted by ordinance or resolution.
Do we have a second for that already? Oh, Angela Backus seconds that motion.
Okay.
The substitute motion.
Mr. Lewis and Ms. Backus.
Yep. All right, let us go ahead and cast our votes. Substitute motion first.
Substitute motion first, okay. Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Wilhelmie?
I'm sorry. May I interrupt for 1 second, please? 'Cause I think it's a little confusion on what we're actually doing. Could we get clarification on exactly what we're voting on, please?
The substitute motion reads, county manager shall report to the commission, which includes the mayor. And we're gonna strike, you haven't got the strike portion in there.
Just read substitute motion.
Just put it
Just
back
have her,
on the screen.
have her to reread the substitute motion.
Yeah, everything that was listed on the substitute motion, it substituted the wording on the first motion that was presented. So the substitute motion clarify that you also have the mayor listed in that.
Yep. But that also, there's a strike of existing language from the original motion.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you, okay, Ms. Bonner, are you following this, or well, you want me to read it for you?
Madam Chair, before it's read, if I may, what the substitute motion added, it included clarified that the mayor is part of the commission. Okay. And the second is it struck language that said that the appointments and termination of a department head was subject to the advice and consent of the majority of the Board of Commissioners. That language was removed. So what it basically says is that there'll be a county manager who reports to the commission, who has hiring, firing authority, subject to following appropriate HR guidance. And Ms. Bonner may need to read it again, or just for clarity, but that's the gist, the changes of the motion.
Yes, thank you.
Substitute motion, managerial authority over department heads. Be it further moved, the county manager shall report directly to the commission, which includes the mayor, and be granted the authority to appoint and remove department heads. All appointments and removals must comply with established human resource policies, performance standards, and any procedural frameworks adopted by ordinance or resolution. Ms. Wilhelmie?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson?
Well, I was looking for a point of clarity because I'm still somewhat confused. I just want to know for sure. All right? Is this the time to ask, Madam Chair?
You may.
For clarity? Thank you. I'm hearing that the city manager, if that's the direction we're going in, will decide on the hiring and firing of the department heads. But am I also hearing that he or she will be reporting to the commission and not directly, and not through the mayor or to the mayor? Do we still have 11 bosses as it relates to the manager?
No.
Okay.
So we'll clarify that. We have another maybe 6 questions we have to answer that we can add further punctuation points on that for the meeting of October 16th. we'll just add that to the list. But no, what that establishes is a line of communication between the manager who is honor bound to communicate with the commission that happens to include the mayor. If we want to refine other points of the relationships, that'll be taken up in the meeting, next meeting coming up.
Yes, my vote is yes.
Madam Chair, since there was some further discussion, you need to inquire if anybody wants to change their vote based on that discussion. I'm not saying anybody wants to, but if anybody, since there was more information provided, I think you could do that just by asking if there's anyone who needs to rescind their
Anybody
vote.
else that would like to change their vote based on that? Okay, I think we're good to go.
That motion is unanimous.
Okay, very good. For some reason, it's still saying not present, but that's because we're handling all these things. All right, then we come to the third motion.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I could. I would like to move motion 3, and that motion is to approve power and duties. The mayor should have the power and duties to be the official spokesperson for the consolidated government and its chief advocate of policy, and to see that the ordinance, resolutions, and regulations of the council and laws of this state, subject to enforcement by the mayor or by officers subject to the mayor's direction and supervision, are faithfully executed and enforced.
Second.
Who was second?
Wembley.
Mr. Wembley, second.
All right. Let's see. But we don't have anybody else in the queue. Okay, very good. Let's cast our votes.
Mrs. Wilhelmy?
Yes?
Mr. Pearson? Yes. Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you. I think there have been much discussion about needing a supermajority, and I want to thank all of you for the hard work you've done to make this a unanimous decision. There's a lot of good give and take. And despite the accusations of chaos, somehow we're still in the right place. Let's go on to, under other for the agenda, Mr. Fouché, can I call upon you to present the concept you proposed earlier this morning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd love to. I think we work better as a full committee. The subcommittees have been dysfunctional at times, and I would like to see us change the complexion of how and when we have our meetings collectively. I'd like to suggest that the full committee meet as a workshop from 10 a.m. until 11:30, and then we adjourn for lunch and come back at 1 o'clock and have the CRC full committee meeting. The first one is a workshop, the second one is the full committee meeting. I think that allows us to develop plans and workshops and vote on those plans becoming motions later in the day versus waiting 2 weeks to come back and discuss those.
Is that in the form of a motion?
If you'd like it to be. Second.
All right, Mr. Fouché, motion, Mr. Powell, seconded. And Mr. Coach, you still have yours on there, okay? Did you want, okay. All right, Mr. Wemberly.
Madam Chair, I think you work best having subcommittees in order to iron out small details in any motion that's brought up for passing on to the full committee. So if there's a reluctance to want to manage or be the chair of such subcommittee, then this could be an opportunity to withdraw and give someone else the opportunity to manage those subcommittees.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have Ms. Robinson next.
With respect to facilities, we have to remember that if we're having a main committee meeting, we are on the dais, and we have to make sure that we could accommodate that. As the current schedule is, I believe the accommodations are there. I think it best to, if we switch to a workshop model, to have the workshops in the afternoon with regard to where subcommittees have been, because this cadence has already been established with the public. And to make a drastic change like that, I don't think would be in the best interest of the public. In additional with the facilities pieces of that, I think it behooves us to give clarity and time for those 2 weeks between conversations so that we can adequately research. Carl Vincent can adequately provide information to us, and that 2-week time frame is necessary for us to have a workshop in the morning and then be expected to be ready to vote on it after lunch. I do not think is in the best interest of everybody who is working on this, and does not bode well to effective communication or information gathering. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Backus.
I was going to say everything that Ms. Robinson said, but she said it prettier than me. So as I had suggested to the chair previously, that we have a workshop time so that we can actually discuss on in depth, kind of like how subcommittees were doing. But I would agree with Ms. Robinson that I personally would prefer that it be in the afternoons. If I'm not able to make it through all of the meetings, then I leave the workshop early rather than having to miss out on the regular committee meeting. And I think it's the same with some of our public. All of our public that attends the regular meeting does not come to the subcommittee meetings. And some of that's because of time schedule, but some of that's because they're not able to hang in there that long. So I would agree with Ms. Robinson on switching it to the regular keeping the committee meeting, this meeting at the same time and location, and instead of subcommittees, moving forward with a workshop in the afternoon.
Okay. Mr. Wimberly, you had your light on, but we don't. No, okay, very good. All right.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, and then we have Mr. France, too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure I'll get clarification from Mr. Fouché on exactly what he's proposing. Or, sir, are you proposing that the normal subcommittee, forms of government subcommittee that's normally taking place in the afternoon be conducted during the formal charter review committee time slot on that Thursday at 10 a.m. versus the 1:30-ish time frame in the afternoon? Is that what you're proposing, or your motion?
Mr. France, my suggestion is that we not have subcommittee subcommittee meetings. We work better as a full committee. That's been proven today with 7 unanimous votes. So I would propose that we work as a workshop from 10 till 11:30. We adjourn for lunch, and we come back, and we're able to handle voting on motions made in the full committee meeting starting at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if Ms. Robinson and Ms. Backus, the way they said it was like an alternative idea, but I'm not sure if that was in the form of a substitute motion. If it is, I think it'd be more appropriate to state that as a kind of the inference was there, but if you're making a substitute motion, please, for the clerk's benefit, know that it was being made and seconded.
All right. Ms. Backus?
I just also want to point out, like Ms. Robinson said, expecting us to receive information and then go immediately, an hour later into voting on it, that also leaves out the public. Not only does that not give us enough time to consider it, it doesn't give the public a chance to respond, because they're not going to know all the things we're discussing in a workshop. They don't even get the agenda until after they have to sign up to speak. So I would make the substitute motion that moving forward, our charter review meetings remain at the same time, and 1:30 that we begin a workshop where we can discuss what was formerly being discussed in subcommittees.
All right, is there a second for that substitute motion?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Robinson, Ms. Backus, and Ms. Robinson.
Is it possible we can accomplish the same objective by allowing public comments during the workshop?
No, not if I don't know that that's what you're discussing, then I can't show up to discuss it that day. So if I watch it afterwards, and then I'm like, oh, no, that's really important to me, I want to show up and make sure that I'm heard, then they know that they can show up before the next meeting. I also, personally, I don't like to be given information and not have time for me to process it. Like, I want to be able to think about what my questions are and pros and cons. And I don't think that, I mean, we're 6 months into a 12-month process. I think we're on schedule. I don't think we need to rush it. I'm not saying that we need to slow down. I'm saying I don't think we need to rush it and vote the same day that we're discussing things.
There's a substitute motion on the floor to maintain the current schedule and to utilize the concept of workshops in the afternoon.
Can we clarify the time that it should start?
Standard meetings would be 10 o'clock, and I think we probably should leave enough time for lunch, so let's stick with 1:30 then.
1:30.
If that's the case. Unless you ladies, everybody that's working has got a different idea. Okay with that? All right, Mr. France?
Yes, just to be clear, again, so the second motion, the substitute motion is to have the form of government subcommittee changed to a workshop, a form of government workshop in the afternoon? Is that what is that the motion? Substitute motion?
I didn't hear workshop in the motion.
An afternoon working meeting.
Work sessions, let's say work sessions.
Let's call it that, because, if
Yeah.
you wanted to, the point of it was to give you the opportunity to discuss, debate. If there was consensus, then you would formulate what will become a motion that then will come back to the big committee.
Correct, and that would be with public participation as well?
We still have time to discuss that, but I believe the public participation should come toward the end where we'd be able to receive their comments. They've had the opportunity. I think that's still a work in progress, how that will go.
Workshops, no.
Not in a we're not going to call it a workshop per se. A working session is probably
Working
more
session.
accurate.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Was that clarified for everybody? Charlie?
I would like Ms. Bonner's input on that first motion, if it's even doable, or, in order for her to do what she needs to do from the work session to the actual meeting.
Thank you for that consideration. Because Ms. Bonner will be working on the Augusta Commission agenda for the next week, so that does kind of. And I think what Ms. Backus and Ms. Robinson is proposing is technically what you're doing now. We're just calling it something different. So to maintain the full committee meeting at 10 and the work sessions in the afternoon works.
Well, we have to vote on the substitute motion. Mr. Fouché, you had a comment here.
No.
Okay. Pardon me, Mr. Powell.
Yeah, so if you go to a work session in the afternoons, that would mean that both subcommittees would be dissolved. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You're working as a committee of the whole for your work sessions.
I think my intention, just FYI for everybody, was that the meat and potatoes of the former government committee we just handled, and we were going to sunset that committee anyway. We do very well as a group, and it's useful to have everybody there to bat the ball back and forth, and we do influence each other, so. when it arrives to a consensus time, then we start taking votes. Mr. Wimberly, did you have something you wanted to offer here?
Madam Chair, I just only want to throw this out. What we just did is, regardless of how the vote go, what we just did is just give them more ammunition to the public to say that we are definitely dysfunctional. Thank you.
Okay. Would you want to read what we've got for the substitute again, please?
Yes, ma'am. The substitute motion was to retain the full committee meeting time at 10 and at 1:30 begin work session as a committee of the whole.
As a full committee?
Yeah, committee of the whole. Mm-hmm.
We'll call for the vote. Substitute
Yeah.
motion, yes.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Wilhelmy?
I think I'm going to support the substitute motion.
Okay. Mr. Pearson?
No.
Okay. That motion carries 8-2.
Dr. Facer has got to go. He has got a very important meeting back in Athens.
Who else was no? Lonnie Wimberly? 9-2, I'm sorry. 9-2.
Okay. I don't know that we need a motion to do this, but what I wanted to do was to hold meetings beginning in 2026 so that we can put it in our calendars and, keep the plan going. January 1st happens to be the day that we should be meeting, but clearly no one's going to be here on January 1st. So can we by acclamation agree that we're going to start again the following Thursday? Is that okay with everyone? All right, very good. I think we're just going to.
So accept that without objection, right?
Accept that without objection.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now, ladies, are you going to deliver?
So due to Dr. Facer's previously communicated time commitment, I think we'll wait to present our slides for today, just so that Dr. Facer can explain in breadth.
Because so can we, for the benefit of the committee, can we explain that the grad students were commissioned to look at certain aspects of our ethics and transparency proposal, and that's what he was going to report on?
Yes, ma'am, yeah. So ethics and audit processes from other jurisdictions around the state, yeah.
Okay.
Other municipalities, I should say.
Okay. And he also was going to report on, or present the results of the statewide commissioner salaries and dedicated monthly hours. So he wants to defer all three topics to the 16th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, ladies, I appreciate that. Is there any other business to come before this body today?
A motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All right. Mr. Bryant and Mr. France. Thank you. We'll see all of you upstairs, whoever is coming, for the Finance Subcommittee at 1:30.